Welcome back, everybody. So I just had a long day of travel. Just flew from New York to Texas, got in the car and drove further south from there. So I have finally landed in my hotel room. And my room is now full of cases of gear. So what I have to do now is take all of this stuff that was packed for airline travel and reorganize it so that I can actually work with it tomorrow. I mean, it would be great if I could just pull everything out of the case and get straight to work, but we all know that isn't possible. So what kind of things went into figuring out how I was going to pack this gear? How am I going to keep it safe to be manhandled at the airport, but also keep it in a way that can be organized and accessible when I need to get to work tomorrow? So in this video, we're going to take a look at the thoughts that went into how to pack the gear and how to do it safely without bringing along a bunch of extra cases that only serve one purpose. So I think the best place to start is with the camera. Whenever I'm flying, I pack my camera into the Think Tank Video Transport 18 bag. And this is a great bag. It's a roller bag. What's really nice about it is it's nondescript, so it doesn't look like a camera bag. You know, it's always nice when you have really expensive items to not have a case that screams expensive and please steal me. And so I really like this bag. But what else is great about this bag is, unlike some of the other roller bags that you would have for photo gear, is this has a nice rigid frame to it. And so, you know, obviously I'm going to carry this bag on whenever I can, but if I find myself on a plane that's really small, either we run out of overhead space or possibly it won't fit into the overhead, although I haven't come into that problem yet, then this bag is safe enough to be able to gate check it. I've got a TSA lock on here that I can just lock it up just in case. But you know, this is something that I'm always going to try, if not insist on, carrying onto the airplane. So when it comes to packing your camera, there's a few things that you want to consider. You know, the first one is making sure that everything is safe. And one of the challenges about packing is, again, it would be really great to be able to pull this camera straight out. It's already built, it's ready to go. But traveling with a fully built out camera generally isn't the safest thing to do. It's not a good idea to travel with lenses on the camera body. You want to make sure that you're separating those. Anything that has a stress point, you're going to want to remove that from the equation. And so what that generally means is breaking everything down to its bare minimum and being able to pack that safely and securely. But then once you land, you're going to have to build all that stuff up. So this case has allowed me to take my full C500 Mark II package, break it down, and fit everything that I need into here. The other thing that I do when I'm packing this bag is I want to kind of err on the side of safety. What happens if all the other cases that I've checked miraculously don't arrive at my final destination? If you don't have your gear, you can't shoot, you can't make a movie. It's probably going to be a big waste of money, a big waste of time, and you're going to be scrambling to find equipment that you can rent locally to cover you in the meantime. So when I'm packing my camera, I will pack everything that I need to get started shooting into this one bag or into the two bags that I'm carrying onto the plane. And that way, at some point, yes, I will run out of batteries. At some point, yes, I will run out of media. I might want to change a lens. I'm not going to have a tripod, but at the very least, I have what I need to get going and start getting content that you're not going to be able to miss. So that's what I've packed into this bag. And I have a lens. So in this situation, my plan is to not shoot this film on the Canon 24-105. I have another set of lenses that I'm going to use. But the other lenses, the Ingenue Easy Zooms, are too big to be able to fit in this bag or to fit in my other carry-on. Those lenses are just going to have to be checked. And that's perfectly fine with me. So I'm going to keep my 24-105 in here just as a backup because it's small, it's easy to transport, and it's got a great range. And so if push comes to shove, I can stick that one lens on and I know that I'm good to go. And so this case is able to provide me with everything that I'm going to need to get going if this is all that I have. So the next bag that I have is my backpack, and this is my second carry-on. So between my backpack and my camera, Those are the two things that are going to come on the plane with me at all times. And between this bag and the camera bag is what's going to give me everything that I need to be able to start shooting. So inside this bag is where I have all of my batteries. And in this case, for this project, I have 8 different batteries. I have 4 of these nanos that are 98 watt hours, again, able to be carried on the plane. And then I have 2 of these HyperCore Neo batteries, also 98 watt hour. And I have 2 of these Neo 150s. Now, when it comes to flying with 150 watt hour batteries, the allowance is up to 2 of them. This will very much depend on if you're flying internationally or not, but that's a whole different conversation. So generally speaking, at least within the United States, carrying 2 150 watt hour batteries acceptable, and you can bring as many batteries that you want up to 100 watt hours. Also in this bag, I have my laptop, so I'm able to offload media, and I've got a couple shuttle drives to be able to offload that media too. So again, between my camera bag and this bag, I am able to get started shooting even if nothing else shows up. Now that we've gone through our 2 carry-on bags, it's time to start looking at the rest of the checked bags. So the first thing that we're going to go through is the lens case. So like I was saying, is in my camera bag, just as a safety, I'm carrying my Canon 24-105, but that's just a safety lens. On this project, I'm going to be working with the Ingenue Easy Zooms. So in here, it's got everything that I need. In this situation, I was flying by myself, so these lenses needed to get checked. But if I'm trying to pare things down, or I'm able to travel with other crew members who could potentially carry on some more gear for me, then I've packed these 2 lenses down into a Pelican 1510 case, and then I can hand that off to another crew person to be able to carry them on, and then I don't have to worry about bringing a spare lens like a 24-105. This case is great because, again, it's going to offer really, really good protection for the lenses. You know, the lenses themselves do have a little bit of play in their slots. And so what I've done is I've just taken some little pieces of foam like this, and I've just wedged them in so that these lenses aren't going to be rolling around and shaking around. And then on top of them, again, I just take another little piece of spare foam and just put that on top so they're not moving up and down. And these things aren't going anywhere. Next up is my camera accessory case. And I love this case. This is a Pelican 1610. It's got a lot of space inside of it, but it's also a manageable size. I've got a bunch of different Pelicans of all different sizes depending on what the job requires, but I do find myself gravitating towards this one more times than not. So first up on top is my rain cover. This is just a great thing to have with you, whether there's rain in the forecast or not. Next, I have my card readers, a single CF Express reader, multi-card reader, and then last I have a dual reader for CF Express. Here I have a Canon 70-200. Again, the majority of the filming that I'm going to be doing on this project at least is going to be with my Ingenue Easy Zooms, but I have this if I need something just a little bit longer. I've got my battery chargers. And the first one is this small compact 4-port charger from Core. And this is what I'll use to power my nano batteries. And then here I have the bigger and more robust 4-port charger from Core. This will take the larger batteries. This will take my 2 150s and my 2 Neo 98s. Between these 2 chargers, I'm able to get 8 batteries charging at the same time. This is my wireless director's monitor. Here I have my AC supply for my C500 Mark II. All right, in this bag is just spare cables. In here, this is basically my go-to AC pouch. I happen to have a camera assistant on this job, but I brought it anyway. And the last thing in this case is my Teradek. So when it comes to packing this case, it's going to be very job dependent. But what you want to do when packing your case, especially when it's getting on an airplane, is make sure that everything is padded. Make sure that everything is kept from bouncing or scratching or rolling around on top of something else, because you don't want this stuff to get damaged. So being able to subdivide the case as much as you can. I've got dividers here, here, across one here, and it just kind of separates things, keeps things from moving around so that when you open the case, it looks exactly the same as when you packed it before you handed it over to the airline to throw around. Next up is my tripod. I certainly could just pack my tripod into a soft bag, but you're gonna run into possible damage at the airport. I could also put my tripod into a hard plastic tube, but generally speaking, you're only gonna be able to put the tripod in there, maybe a boom pole or one light stand. So for my tripod, I really like to travel with it in this Think Tank bag. This is the Think Tank Video Tripod Manager 44. One thing that you should really be aware of when you are flying with a fluid head is you're going to want to make sure that you turn all of your drags on both the pan and the tilt down to 0. So it's free spinning and free tilting. Because what'll happen is if this thing is going to get bumped around, which being on an airplane, inevitably it will, if the tension of these are cranked all the way up, if the lock knobs are engaged and this thing gets a bump, then it can severely damage your tripod head. And you know, these things are not cheap. So if you treat them right, they will last you forever. And that's probably one of the best ways that you can treat your tripod well, is just anytime that you're packing it away, is just turn everything to 0, open up the knobs and put it in the case. And last but not least is my personal bag. Now, I don't need to go through the stuff that I brought on this trip, you know, boring stuff. But don't underestimate the fact that this bag can also serve as a gear bag for you. If I was just packing my personal gear to come on this trip, which is only a day or two, then I would have packed this into a much smaller suitcase. But since my carry-ons are already allocated for my camera and my backpack with batteries and a computer, then I know I'm not going to be carrying that thing on the plane anyway, so why make it small? So I've gone with a bigger suitcase. And what that means is half can be personal and the other half can be more gear. The first one, which is always a big one to carry around, is my cine saddle. And this thing is going to go with me everywhere. But it's also just a bulky thing to pack. And so being able to stick this into a suitcase is a perfect way to do it. And then I've also brought a just empty run bag because once we have unpacked everything, we've built everything up, and we've started to reorganize the stuff into how we're actually going to use it on a shoot day. We don't want to be lugging around a bunch of Pelican cases, especially if you're working in a very small and nimble and fast documentary crew. And so having an additional bag that I can start to pack things out of the big bulky Pelicans into a smaller bag, this is going to be great. And so again, this is an easy thing that packs down pretty small to be able to get nice and thin that I can stick in my suitcase. And I can now start to pack all of this stuff away from the airline travel configuration and into an actual filming situation. So I've got everything built up and ready to go. Now, when it comes time to travel, I no longer need the camera bag for this. This thing is going to live built and live naked because I want to make sure that I always have quick and easy access to it. So when it comes to transporting, what I'll basically do is take my cine saddle, I'll put this on the seat in the car, throw the camera on top of this, seat belt it in, and it's nice, safe, and secure. I have converted our camera bag now into my basically run bag, battery bag. I've got all my batteries in here. I've got my 70-200. I have the 4-port small charger for my nano batteries. I've got my rain cover. I've got my media and my tape and my Sharpie and all that stuff. So anything that I need very quickly, I can grab out of this one bag. That's something that's really important, is being able to now organize it not just for safety, but organize it in terms of functionality and what you're actually going to do with it. I have my tripod case, but my tripod is going to not live in that case anymore. I'm going to keep this tripod out and accessible, so this can just lay in the back of the van, and whenever I need to grab a shot, I can quickly pull that out of the back of the van and not have to go digging and unzipping into a case. So we don't even have to bring this into location I've got my director's monitor. So this is now ready to go. You can see that I have a wireless link to it. It'll travel with a battery already on, so it's ready to use at a moment's notice. And at the beginning of the day, I'll just hand this over to the director. So this is now theirs. This is for them to use. And so this doesn't need a case to live in. If they need to set it down, then I will just make sure that it's set down in a safe place. But this doesn't need to live inside of a case anymore. I have my run bag, and I basically converted this to my power bag. So this has the second battery charger. This has the power strip. It has the AC power supply for my C500, and this has my AC pouch. So all of that stuff lives in here because this is going to be, this I'm not going to need to get to as often as I would say what's inside of my camera run bag. So this can be set to the side, and when it's time to start setting up power, when it's time to start setting up an interview, then you can go to this bag. But there's really nothing in here that I'm going to need immediately. So all that stuff is living together in this bag. And then lastly, I have my backpack. When we flew, this had all my batteries in it. Now I've basically converted this to be my DIT media management bag. So it's got my laptop, it has all of my computer cables in it, it has my hard drives, and it has the pouch that has all of the card readers. So now all of that is contained in one bag. Obviously, there are so many different ways that you can configure how this stuff is spread out. It all comes down to the kinds of equipment that you're working with, the way that you like to work, and how much stuff you're bringing. But I hope that there were some helpful tips in here for thinking about the best ways and the safest ways to pack your gear for air travel, and knowing that they don't have to continue on in that same configuration when it comes time to work. You really don't want to have the organization of your gear or the lack thereof slowing you down when important things are happening that need to be captured on camera. So I hope that this video was helpful for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy travels, happy filming, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.